diagnosis, so I'm going to invite Alex Cummings to come on up here and give us her story as a transplant recipient. She currently works at the Lions Island in Delaware Valley.
It's pretty hard to follow that. I just want to thank you, Genevieve, for sharing that. It does make me emotional just thinking about your dad and all of the donors that make this possible, because without them, like, none of us would be here. So I just want to thank you again for sharing. So my name is Alex, for those of you who I haven't met yet. And I've really enjoyed learning a lot with you the past 3 days. Everything has been brand new information to me because I'm not a processor, I don't recover tissue, I work completely on the community relations side. So a lot of it has gone over my head, but I've been able to retain and understand some of it. And the work you do every day is really incredible, and I have no idea how you do it. So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. It's cool getting to talk to you guys, because normally I talk to other recipients or at fundraising events, and I kind of just gloss over the more, I guess you could say, like, gory or medical details, but this seems like a group that I can get a little more into that with. So I graduated from Tulane University in New Orleans in the spring of 2015, and I was just starting my first full-time job as a teacher at a New York City charter school in July of 2015, and I was 3 days into my job when my life took a change that's altered the course of my life from then till now. And so I remember 3 days into my job, my right eye started burning a little. But I was a glasses and a contacts wearer, so I've had irritation in my eyes before. And I only ever wore daily disposables. I never wore, multi-day contacts, and I was always very good about taking them out at the end of each night, and I never showered or swam in them, and I never rinsed them in water. But I went to a workout class right after my third day of work, and I had to leave the workout class because the burning in my right eye was so severe. And I took out the contacts, and I thought maybe it was just some irritation. And the school I was working at was undergoing a lot of construction, and so they were like ripping out carpets and taking down walls and doing things with the ceilings, and so there was dust and debris everywhere. So I thought like maybe something had just gotten in my eye. So I went to work on my fourth day, and my right eye was like bright red, and my left eye was pretty pink. And so the principal thought I had pink eye, which is like a cardinal sin at an elementary school. Like, you have to vacate immediately if you have pink eye. So they sent me home right away, and I went to urgent care. And the urgent care doctor said that I probably had some sort of abrasion on both of my corneas. He said maybe it was from some sort of, because I explained how there was a lot of construction at my school, said maybe it was from that, or from you taking in the contact, taking it in or out in a weird way. So he sent me to a local eye doctor, and the eye doctor confirmed that there was abrasions on my cornea. He was like, we'll just give you some antibiotics to treat it, and you should be good. And so I did these eye drops that he gave me every half hour for a few days, and my left eye kind of stayed the same, and my right eye kept getting worse and worse. And I had never experienced pain like that before, like anywhere in my body, let alone on my eye. And so I went to another ophthalmologist, and then another, and this was for the remainder of July, about 2 or 3 weeks. And by the end of July, my left eye had actually started to clear up with the antibiotic drops that they had given me. But my right eye was getting worse and worse, to the point that I couldn't open it anymore. If I did, it was very pussy and red. There was a big white growth on it. But every eye doctor in New York City, which you would think is one of the best places to go for healthcare, they kept telling me, like, just stay the course and it should get better. But it was very difficult because I was doing eye drops every 5 to 10 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So I was never sleeping more than 20, 25 minutes at a time. So I had my mom, my dad, my boyfriend, my brother would have to wake me up at 1 a.m., 1:15, 1:30, and this went on for all of July and then all of August. And I couldn't see anything out of my right eye. And I remember the moment that I completely lost vision in it, and I was sitting on the couch talking with my mom, and it just went black, and I started hysterically crying because I was terrified. And I wasn't able to even open a refrigerator door because the light was too bright. Couldn't go outside. I couldn't even walk anywhere on my own because I couldn't lift my head up enough to see anything. So I felt helpless because I felt like my body was letting me down. I felt like all the doctors were letting me down, and it didn't seem like there was ever going to be a point where it was getting better. So I was very scared, and all I wanted to do was the simple things that I took taken for granted my whole life, like going on a walk, or watching TV, or going to dinner with a friend. Like, I vowed after that, if I was ever to get my vision back in that eye, to never take those things for granted again. And so in September, it had been about 45 days of round-the-clock drops and extreme pain. I wasn't working. I'd only lasted 4 days at my charter school. My boyfriend at the time was living in Philadelphia, and he convinced me and my family to go to Will's Eye. And my family was pretty skeptical at first because they didn't really want to take me out of New York City. But we went to Will's Eye in the beginning of September, and within 24 hours they were able to properly diagnose my right eye. Everyone in New York City, they had claimed that they had cultured it and tested it, and that they swore up and down that it was a bacterial infection. And it turns out it was a fungal infection called aspergillus. And the doctor told me that this is a type of fungal infection that people usually get in tropical climates. And I had never been anywhere tropical in the past few years at that point. And so to this day, they're pretty confused as to how I got it. So they treated the fungal infection with antifungal drops for a few weeks, but since the infection had been in my eye since the beginning of July, it had eaten through my cornea, so there really was no saving it. And so in the end of September of 2015, I had my corneal transplant, and I had never had any surgery up until that point. I probably couldn't even have told you where the cornea was located on the eye. I knew nothing about eyes. I was so squeamish. And so the idea of a surgery really scared me. And my doctor told me that there was a very high chance of my eye rejecting the transplant and the fungal infection coming back. So I really didn't feel very confident about my odds going into it. So I had a full thickness corneal transplant. So this is a picture on the left of my eye, probably at the beginning of September. So it wasn't at its worst, but I didn't have any vision in it at this point. You can see how red and irritated it is. And then the picture on the right is probably less than a month after my full thickness transplant, which is crazy. I remember when my doctor, Dr. Aquano, showed me that picture, I couldn't get over how clear it was. And so each surgeon has a different preference of how they do their stitches. So I had 16 individual stitches in my eye. And it's been almost 5 years, and I still have 6 of them left. And I'll always have a few in my eye to hold the cornea in place. And sometimes stitches will break, and they'll poke at my inner eyelid and infect it or irritate it. And my eye will get very dry throughout the day. But I have amazing vision out of it now. And just the fact that it was able to go from that to that, it still blows my mind. So my doctor gave me a kit after I left my surgery appointment, and it explained to me where my cornea had come from. And I really did not think about that before I went into surgery, because when you go in for a surgery, you don't normally think about what had to happen in order for you to get fixed. So that's when it really hit me that a family had to lose a loved one, and someone had to give this ultimate gift and sacrifice in order for my sight to be given back to me. So that really impacted me. So I wrote to my donor family, and I never heard back from them, but I've written to them a few times. And I started volunteering with the eye bank that gave me my cornea tissue, Lions Eye Bank, where we are right now. But I lived in New York City, so I could only come once or twice a year to some of their events. But that was a big turning point for me. And this is a picture of my doctor, Dr. Aquano. And in July of this past summer, my fiance moved to Philadelphia for medical school. He moved back here. And I moved down with him and was lucky enough for the people that I used to volunteer with to kind of create a role for me here. And I went from teaching elementary school in New York City for 4 years to this whole new environment that was completely foreign to me. And so now I'm the community relations coordinator, so I'm the person that's reaching out to the next of kin when they lose a loved one, and thanking them for their altruistic gift. And I'm the one that's managing communication between recipients and their donor families, fundraising for our gratis tissue program where we provide tissue for people who would be able to afford it otherwise, and managing all of our social media accounts and doing interviews with people that are important in the field of eye donation and transplantation. And I feel so lucky to get to do it because there's really nothing else I don't think I would feel more passionate about. And so getting to learn from all of you this week has been really amazing, getting to see the other side, because you guys see the technical side every day. I really never see that. So it's been really helpful for me. So I just have one quick story before I go back to my seat. So my favorite part of my job since starting has been fundraising for our gratis tissue program. And it's really important for me because the second that I needed a corneal transplant, I was able to get it. There was no question whatsoever. And there's 12 million people in the world who need a transplant for one reason or another, but they lack the resources, either financially or medically, to obtain one. And the fact that, for me it was 2 months that I went in darkness and in pain, and there's people that are going decades. To me and obviously there's nothing we can do to help every single millions of people, but I've been trying to help as many people as I can. And so earlier today, Dr. Rosenwasser mentioned these different Facebook groups that people go to if they have different eye diseases, and there's a corneal transplant support group where people who are either getting transplants or had them or have questions, they all write in this group. And so we have a lot of recipients in this group from our eye bank who mention Lions Eye Bank and mention our different surgeons. And so a man from Jamaica named Simeon made his way into this transplant support group and saw all these people talking about Lions Eye Bank. And he reached out to us and he explained that he's currently 29 and he was in a construction accident when he was 19, and a nail gun went into his eye and he had his lens removed and his cornea has been completely damaged, and all these doctors in Jamaica tell him that he needs a transplant but they don't have the tissue for him. So he asked, is there anything you can do? And I had only been working with Lions Eye Bank for 2 months at that point, but his story really affected me, and I went to our president, Jim Quirk, with the story. And he said, if you can find a surgeon in Jamaica who will do this transplant surgery, I'll give you some tissue and I'll put you on a plane and you can go deliver it to him. So that's what we were able to do. And I have a quick clip, instead of me talking about it for 20 more minutes, which I probably would, that I can show you that explains it really quickly. But this was Simeon before his surgery. And I have pictures that we ended up taking out because they're a little too graphic potentially. But you can see the white in his eye. So he had this big keloid on his cornea, which is just like a giant scar tissue that was oozing out over his eye, so he could never close his eye completely. And he had no vision in it, and he used to work in construction outdoors, and so he'd been unemployed for 10 years. But he's not even 30 yet. And then this is our technical director, Greg, who went with me. My fiance, Adam. This is Simeon. This is right before surgery. And then this is a picture of all of us afterwards. And here's his doctor, Dr. McIntosh, who performed the surgery in accordance with Dr. Lopez, who is a surgeon from the Dominican Republic who flew in. So it was really cool.
A life-changing gift. Lions Eye Bank of Delaware Valley is going international to help give people the gift of sight. Catherine Scott shows us how.
We're feeling good?
Feeling good.
Simeon Edwards, minutes before he went into surgery in Jamaica for a sight-saving cornea transplant.
That's like actually coaching for me.
Simeon from Kingston damaged his eye in a construction accident 10 years ago. who wasn't able to get the transplant he needed until now, with the help of Lions Eye Bank of Delaware Valley in Northern Liberties.
This man had been waiting in darkness and in pain for over 10 years.
Alex Cummings of Lions Eye, a corneal transplant recipient herself, first learned about Simeon this fall when he reached out on social media. He explained doctors in Jamaica couldn't provide the eye tissue, and he lacked the proper insurance. Alex traveled to Jamaica with the cornea donation. A surgeon flew in from the Dominican Republic.
We believe that someone's ability to pay should never be a barrier on their ability to see.
In the United States, there's no longer a waiting list for cornea tissue, but barriers arise with insurance. This eye bank has a gratis tissue program, which provides tissue and financial help for transplants. After local needs are met, they can provide help internationally.
He still has a long road ahead, but the improvement already is night and day.
Since 2012, this eye bank has provided more than 225 local recipients with gratis tissue, as well as 252 overseas patients in need.
Along the walls of the eye bank, there are pictures of recipients and letters of gratitude to donors' families.
We think that eye donors and their families are just like real-life heroes, and they really define what it means to be truly altruistic. Like, there is no greater gift that you can give.
With cancer, where you start your treatment is crucial.
So for me, I sometimes don't see myself as a recipient. I kind of forget, and getting to see all of these other stories day in and day out of people whose lives were changed forever is just such an amazing part of my job. But if it wasn't for donor families and it wasn't for all of you, none of it would be possible. So I'm so grateful. And another cool thing is that Simeon is going to come to Philadelphia in November. We're putting on a fundraising gala in Philly, and it'll be about a year since his transplant at that point. And he's going to come and get to see Lions Eye Bank and get to see me again and meet the rest of the staff. And we're really excited about that. And he keeps me updated, and he is getting a lens implant next month, and he's gone back to work full time. And he used to only ever take pictures with sunglasses on. He would never take off his glasses. And he says now he's always smiling without his glasses, and he created a dating profile for himself. Which, I mean, is just makes me very happy. So that's all I have. I just want to say thank you to all of you for the amazing work you do and for spending these 3 days with me.